I would like to call upon a senior bureaucrat who is an IITian from the reputed Delhi IIT, and he stood All India third rank in IAS 1995 batch. And I had the opportunity to associate and work with him over the years when he was the Special Commissioner at GHMC and also Secretary Municipal Administration, Government of Telangana. He was also the Commissioner with Visakhapatnam Municipal Corporation. At present, for last 3 years, he's been holding the position of Commissioner of Higher and Technical Education in the state of Telangana, and unprecedented. He's been a innovative administrator by reorganizing and uh, modernizing the education in the state. Unprecedented 43% of growth could happen in education in Telangana, that too in government colleges. We would get to hear, and a lot many initiatives have been introduced, taking the higher education to the next level, not just in higher education, also in terms of employability skills, entrepreneurship. Uh, Please join me in welcoming Mr. Navin Mittal. Sir, thank you very much. We would like to have your initial remarks in this context.
Thank you, Sudhir, and very good morning to all my co-panelists and also to all the viewers. First of all, I must thank the APAC for organizing this I would say, very important conclave, and also the program chair, Ranjan sir, who has been kind enough to invite me for this, I would say, very interesting session, which is all about basically encouraging entrepreneurial mindset and encourage the startups, basically. And I've been looking at higher education and technical education sector in the state of Telangana. And one of our major, I would say, focus areas is basically to encourage the entrepreneurship mindset. Telangana, Hyderabad has a very good startup ecosystem, especially, and in certain areas, for example, especially in IT and knowledge industry. Telangana has really, I would say, taken a lead in the country, encouraging the startups. We do have government-backed the T-Hub and the V-Hub, which especially focuses on the startups, both in general, as well as we have a women-specific V-Hub also, which focuses on startups which are backed by or which are started by the women. Going forward, we have also been trying to encourage this ecosystem in our educational institutions also. And we already have started a startup incubator in one of our largest and I would say oldest universities, which is Osmania University. It is more than 100-year-old university located in Hyderabad. And we have under the RUSA funding, which is the Rashtriya Ucha Shiksha Abhiyan, we started a incubator, which we called OU Idea Labs, that is Osmania University Idea Labs, which basically encourages not just the students or the alumni of the university, but also anybody else concerned who is wanting to use the university ecosystem, the ideas which are generated there among the students of the faculty to take forward. Second one, we are setting up in our second largest university, which is Kakatiya University, again under the RUSA funding for research and innovation in our universities. And parallelly, we are trying to encourage entrepreneurship in our colleges also. For example, in our government degree colleges, we have are focusing on entrepreneurship development cell, because our feeling is that the students should not just be, I would say, job seekers, but also job creators. And if we can inculcate this mindset, which is the topic of this discussion, from the, I would say, from the very beginning, from their student days, and equip them with the basic skills which are required, either when they pass out or even when they are on the campus, making use of the the ecosystems which are getting created either at the college level or the university level or at the state level, if they can kind of be attached, then even before they pass out, they can actually concretize and test their ideas, so that when they get into full-time finishing their studies, they can kind of, I would say, deep dive into this interesting world. Secondly, I also want to say that this is in fact, I would say, outcome of a research which was done by a researcher who was in Hyderabad from US and attached to the Indian School of Business here under a fellowship from US, and I had some discussions on the research that was happening there. One of the very interesting things which came out of that research was that success of a startup is intricately linked to the mentorship of these startups. So this is something which we somehow tend to kind of, I would say, forget or sometimes put it on the back seat. But mentorship is very, very, I would say, important component of encouraging startups. And if you look around the country also, the startup ecosystems which have done well, for example, the startup ecosystem which is there in Hyderabad, that is Hub, which have done well, you would find that there is a strong mentorship which is available in those incubators on those ecosystems. And you look across the country also, you would find that. And where this is missing, you would find that the success rates are not that high. The reason is that, we know in startup, the founders, from the beginning, they have to do almost everything on their own. And you can't expect a person to be master of all trades. I mean, one can be kind of jack of all trades, but being a master of all trades is highly impossible. And that is when you really require a mentor support when one gets into problems in areas which one is either not very conversant with or not expert in. You want to look at the experience which is there and learn from that experience of people who have probably faced the problems earlier or solved them successfully, and use that expertise for solving your own problems. And I think it's also very important to kind of test some of the things which one is doing by an independent advice. And I think this is something which I feel must be a focus area both in our campuses as well as in our startup ecosystems, if we have to really convert this movement into a successful movement. Otherwise, you would find that because all of us are talking about this startups or the entrepreneurship mindset, people will get into it. But then at the end of the day, they will burn their hands, and you would find that suddenly the whole ecosystem gets a bad name. Thirdly, I would like to say that, and this is again born out of my experience with interacting at multiple occasions with the startups, they also require, I would say, a lot of governmental support. Maybe not in terms of finances, but in terms of, I would say, either policy support or kind of support in terms of solving the issues which the government can solve. And for example, let's say startups who are in, let's say, education space, they would be having some problem in terms of either accessing the universities or changing certain things or accessing the data which would otherwise not be available. And that's when I would say government departments also have to be very, I would say, proactive in supporting them. And I've seen this. I mean, whenever I've interacted with the startups, I find at least one or two problems which each one of them face from the relevant government department, which needs kind of solutions. And expecting those young entrepreneurs to go around knocking on the doors, I would say, is a very, very difficult exercise. So this bridge between government and this startup ecosystem also needs to be kind of, I would say, very supportive. And one should look at how the government can help them in this kind of policy support, or in terms of solving the issues which they face. I mean, another example which comes to my mind, which was in my previous assignment, was that a couple of guys who were passed out from IIT and working in one of the MNCs here, and this was when I was in my previous assignment as principal administration, came to me and said that if we can give, let's say, the data of local buses, the GPS data of local buses in a public domain to them, then they would be able to develop an app around to tell the public. And this is an example of data access, data which is residing with us and which may not be very, I would say, important from national security purpose, but which can be actually given open access to the public. And with that, maybe not just one startup benefits, but then when this data is available, a lot of innovation can happen around it, and you would find that the people actually make use of their data and come up with solutions which we may not have thought of. So these are a few things which I thought I will talk about. I am also looking forward to listening to the other speakers also, which APAC has lined up, and I'm sure that we will have very interesting discussions ahead. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir, for rightly pointing out the once the startups comes out of the campus, and there is a very strong support system that is needed, which usually goes up. That's the reason there is a mortality rate of startups are higher.